blessing in disguise. Now that Jammeh has left, what is the fate of so many asylum seekers or would-be asylum seekers in Europe? We will get into that to understand the reasons. Whether when these people leave the country for economic reasons, they get to Italy or Spain, do they actually apply asylum based on economic reasons? I will now move on to the youth activist, Mr. Fati. Mr. Fati, I understand you are yet to take this journey. I don't know whether you are a potential would-be migrant. My question to you is, why do you choose to stay here, and then why are you even here?
Okay, good morning to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Paragon, for the invitation. GYCM, in order to be their advocacy officer, which I've been doing so far with them.
Oh, then sorry, I need to reframe my question then. What made you leave this country?
Okay. My reason of leaving this country wasn't a problem of employment. Basically, I'm a teacher, and before I leave, I was teaching. And for me, my reason of leaving was more of peer influence. But I've learned from some of my colleagues that when they are in Europe, their legal status there, the way they were living compared to the living here, the conditions are far different. So this triggers me to also venture into the journey, but which I was a live witness to many things that I think I will discuss with the people here. That's where life practical that no one's supposed not to take this backway journey. The journey is so perilous that if you happen to be a victim, you will end up being the most hater of this journey. So I think it's a good question, and the reason is only peer influence, not about an employment issue. It's more of peer influence in my side.
Thank you so much. So we will not be speculating. Now we are getting the realities. And these people are becoming very honest as to the reason why they left their countries. One of them told us is as a result of family pressure. The other one was actually going to school at the Gambia College. He left the Gambia College because he does not have skills. The other person is telling us is the peer influence. That is the social network theory, where you have your friends in Europe sending you pictures, and then this actually forces you to leave. So we have teachers leaving, they are employed. So according to him, migration is not actually, irregular migration was not being driven by unemployment on his side. The other one said it is about family. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you play a pivotal role in the migration, global migration stuff in the Gambia, tailoring it down to the Gambia National Migration Policy, the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration, and even the Rabat process that talks about missing migrants. My question to you is, you've heard about these young people. Before we come to the realities in Europe, as a ministry, what role do you play in making sure that the young people leave this country in a dignified life, and then when they are to leave this country, they are properly guided? And I ask you this question because I understand you work at the National Migration and Diaspora Unit and Foreign Affairs, and also play a critical role in the NCM. Thank you so much.
Really nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Should I say good morning or good afternoon to you all?
Still morning.
As protocol dictates, I would also want to extend courtesy and recognize the presence of my colleagues, especially those that we are together in migration management. My esteemed colleague from the Gambia Police Force, as you all know that the Gambia Police Force is also part of the National Coordination Mechanism of Migration. So regards to my esteemed colleague, Commissioner Sanyang, and then regards to my colleague also Alkali Jame from the Gambia Immigration Department, and also to my esteemed colleague on the far right from the Gambia Armed Forces. I thank you all for joining us and joining the lead, the youth on this important initiative. Before moving any further also, I wish to thank and extend the appreciation of government to the National Youth Parliament for organizing this important gathering. And I would also want to assure them that we are partners in this. We are all in it together. As you all know that the government is on top of migration management. Responding to your question, Mustafa, to make you understand the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and by extension the role of government in migration is to inform the gathering of the structures that are in place. Government has set up the National Coordination Mechanism on Migration that was established in 2019, which is a government-led interagency mechanism to basically manage migration with a whole of government and whole of society approach. So the NCM, which has its secretariat at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, today can boast of about 30 institutions, which are from both state and non-state actors. And I am also honored to inform the gathering that the NCM has also been cascaded to the regions, which is also known as the regional coordination mechanism. So you will see that there is whole of government and whole of society approach to migration management. So there are also thematic working groups under the migration management NCM. 8 thematic working groups, as my colleague said, Alkali Jame. So this under this you have institutions from the national National Youth Council. So youths are really involved in migration management. They contribute and also they are part of the decision making. So youths are better informed as to the risks of migration, irregular migration. So I would say that youths are better informed as to the risks of irregular migration, so they can decide whether they want to embark on the journey or not themselves.
Thank you so much. I think the most interesting sentence there is that the youth are better informed of the risk. When you go to other places, I always argue that nearly everyone understands the risk of irregular migration in terms of sensitization. Tomong, I wanted to ask you this question. Before leaving this country, were you aware of the risk of irregular migration? And then when you were on your way, what are the 2 risks or challenges that you faced?
Thank you so very much, Mustafa. I believe by the time I was leaving, I was not privileged to understand most of the risks, dangers involved in this journey or migration.
Which year was this?
This was year 2015, the end of 15 to the early 16, I left this country. So I was not privileged to understand because, for example, I am from Basse. Basse is the last region of this country, but then that's how I used, or that's how I get to get from this country to use the journey. Why I said this, some use through Banjul, they might take the bus from Banjul up down to Basse and then continue Senegal, Mali, and then it goes. So I was not privileged to understand some of these risks and dangers involved in this irregular migration. For example, torture, trafficking, sexual violence, and also other crimes that involves. So along the line also, what I found more interesting is when I get to the desert, because Mustafa, believe me, desert is a place wherein perhaps someone can take an example, standing watching the sea without seeing the east or west or north or south, or even to understand this is the route that connects to Denton Bridge, or this is the route that connects to Brikama Banjul Highway. So imagine desert looks like that, and then people that are smuggling us they themselves, they don't know sometimes where the routes are, where the road is to get us to Libya. So in that desert, there are many situations that happens in that desert, because the day I was entering in the desert was like in the cold time, and then the desert was so cold that people could not bear it. Some lose their life because of the situation of that desert. And also the ways and manners that we are put in the desert is so unbearable, because the water or the food that will be given to us is very minimal or very little to say. Perhaps it's gari, and then sometimes couscous. This is what will be given to us, and then those foods are not even dissolved to say like someone can eat this, but we'll be in rush to at least mix gari with sugar and water to ensure we have something in our stomach, and then the smugglers will only give you 2 or 3 minutes to ensure you are done with whatever you have to do. Imagine putting that stuff in your stomach, going that, and then sometimes we drove both day and night. Some even eventually lost their lives in the desert. And then my experience in the desert as well, Mustafa, perhaps my colleagues, Gambian friends, and some of my neighboring countries, because in Agadez, we have so many nationalities or so many West African countries or sub-Saharan countries there. So my friend, a colleague from Gambia here, they were the very first person to use the desert before we were taken to the desert. So imagine that was like 1 week before we get to the desert. We eventually met these people in the desert, because what happened to these people is like, they met with people in the desert that are using forces and trying to violate them in a way that they cannot rescue themselves. What happened is they took their vehicle and then they go along with the driver of that vehicle. So those people, imagine 45 people, only 15 were left in the desert the time we were meeting them. And then what happened, the story was, most of these people lost their life because there was no water, there was no food, and any other thing to survive in the desert at the moment. So I believe these are realities, Mustafa, and I live with these nightmares as my...
So before we proceed, you've talked about sexual violence. I don't know who at most is at vulnerability of being violated sexually. Is it the men or the women during your journey?
Yes, these are the women, and then I believe, Mustafa, women's, we need to advocate, we need to add our voice on them for them to at least have an informed decision in terms of migration. Because believe me or not, Mustafa, we've seen women living here going to Saudi Arabia or Kuwait, Dubai, and then the story behind why they left this country is never the reality that they found on the ground. So I believe this is why Youth Against Irregular Migration, we consider and we are always sensitive about women's involvement in terms of creating this awareness raising for them to understand the risks or the average in terms of sexual violation. They are the most vulnerable and they are the most victim that someone can imagine how they survive in this journey.
Thank you so much, Tombo. I will now go to Buba. I would not want you to go into the risk because I know sometimes they might be similar. Wheresoever you are going, and how much did you spend when you were about to travel, and whether such an amount of money could have started something here?
When I was going, like what I said earlier on, there's no one to support my education, especially in Gambia College. So I was not having any cash with me. So I was having a telephone, it was an Android phone. Then I sell the phone around 3,000. That's where I start my journey with. But my journey doesn't mean I paid both this thing, a bus and go.
When was this?
That's 2015. Yeah, when I graduated, that's 2015.
And then you started college 2015?
Yeah. Because no, I did not start the college.
Okay.
They shortlisted me. So looking for someone who should pay for me. So this was where...
I wanted to understand, since this is reality check, and if my memory could serve me well, 2015, 2016, college was free. So I don't know which program you enroll at the college. Nursing.
Yeah.
Maybe I stand to be corrected, but let's proceed. Yeah.
It was nursing, yeah. And so when I went to Mursani, so I was out in work. as a mason and others, so to gather money. That's how I start my journey. So this is how I went to Mali, Mauritania, and others until I reached in Libya. So my first day in Libya, I see myself in prison. So many of us, especially in the Gambia here, to visit even more.
How do you see yourself in prison?
We have been sold. Yeah, we have been sold like a ship. It's really crazy because you'll be sitting selling like, okay, I did say they can $300. They'll be saying no, 250, 300, just yeah. So okay, say they can I need 250, 300 orders there. These are the things that we are just like we are sick. So see yourself in prison over even coming here to visit mile 2 is a problem for us. So seeing yourself in prison is a big trauma to us. So this is where things start to kill because we thought that okay, entering in Libya, we are in Italy. So living in Libya, seeing yourself in prison, these are the reality we face.
So you were thinking that Libya was okay, Libya we could live.
Yeah, we thought different Libya, that's what we thought.
So coming for that
that's why you have to pull that away from the company because if it doesn't go boss happening, and there's a local good yeah, because there's a local good Fenyaman ke lemi anu ni foni je do tata nyola de from Banjul wol fata jele potoli wol mero do desire de bibe sala le bondika pour ka be dimo be murana ko si malla ko mo fata o wa kamin 2015 e sala boniko ko ma federal so this is reality wala tinanga make so sometimes advocacy be mi ke ga make so I speak to our old namero na formal we speak our local language to them.
Why do you think that kumaya la ponga speak na merol yek e kamana fo merol yek because merol bugata
no merol matata ko merol nin dadi lebe dimol pos ko nya fo nyame family presso woni mi siani baake because be to la ko do bon fo ni gel mon ko solo baake o nyamal bon merol le kata gali no dokal doctor okay e la susul ka doctor ke kami so ko fo ni gel because be kana mustafa di modana ndi ko na di mo ala ba frasi e ko ral wa fi la programme so fo ni gel ata am dat fo ni gel be fa kan silo kan dan tan dum ka okay honda tan 100 charter. So yeah, it's becoming 100 charter. Musa for 40 to 50 be fan. Or 60 fan, Musa. So we are going to celebrate the 40 and forget about the 60. What the reality will let it can be. Kulu Kinakadu, more celebrate. Kulu Saba Boina. Mustafa, Nka, Minu to the more than us celebrate. We focus on that than Mimboina. So this are the things me and the Gobi Silokam and you will know what I can buy. So what we make so Mafuta funding, Mafuta Sati Moma, can explain it.
So like all together because you have a mobile phone will have like you sold your mobile phone for 3,000 4 years. So I just wanted to know like for your trial poker buying cross kata what's the name in Italy and you could just spend how many times you will attempt for each and every now?
Yeah, just story see at the beautiful any kind of dogo can
any type of dogo
a bull cool killing a cordal full cordal and car fit out
in a corda fitale wala boli ko gambeja
no namo sifa
mona na ma ke no jambo yake ja
okay we for story de mi yanno ko when I came back kana ta phone call to ni mano ko ngol fit to earn money I'm doing it
right
this the reality
so it means like a bit nata like ila perception o change like a dogo min ken ngani sanyi be la flaka dogo min ken
aka because I'm been to mutana ko ni be mutana me prisino ko le nga because prison sa mo ngani be I was in prison in Libya. The highest prison in Libya is Guyana. So what prison you go? No, Fenjamal made a game. If I came back, this politics me and go Mbole Killer into reality within next 5 years to 2017 so that 2017 now, nothing so I mean prison on you I'm gonna advocate youth for you to from Governor Metokana because we're not Metikani and I'm going to dialogue with youth can make so near Kata. Career ideas came mental kuda malto because so when I came back this I think maybe can for be alhamdulillah I have the first Bible skill academy in this country in the state
yeah I think you deserve a round of applause for that
yeah
and because in kejele kata moto single collect kata kakuja mal collect kadoko kenu me along ko by then e makeno but we will come back to you natra time moya ala. So, Mr. Fati, yeah, right. It's a teacher, like yeah, okay. You are a teacher, so I just wanted it to be so fun. You were a teacher. You were actually teaching students. After after telling them, bullying them back way, and then maybe the following Monday, the student went to assembly and they say, Mr. Fadi, tell me for them back way.
Yeah, I think...
Yes, Mr. Fadi, for them back way. So I just wanted to understand, what were the realities that you saw there? What actually made you to return? After your friends telling you here is nice, what made you realize that you have to come back? And then here you are today.
Yeah, I think like being a teacher, obviously it's my right to educate students with regards to their future. But the issue is, as I said, I was more of peer influenced by my colleagues, which I also want to go and enjoy those social amenities there so that I can do something at home.
Okay. So to put it in context, what were those social amenities? What were those things that were enticing you in Europe, that your friends were telling you? What were those things?
Okay, for example, I was with one of my boys who just left here within 6 months. He was able to construct a very good house. So looking at me at a field, wherein even let's say a 5-year time for me to have my own compound would be a problem. So it was more of it was more of peer influence that I have seen my colleagues are making in life, that they went within 2-3 months, they were able to do something for their families while I'm here struggling. So I also want to go and do something for the family.
They traveled through the irregular means and they were able to build a compound within 2-3 months, or they told you that they built a compound within 2-3 months?
I have seen it physically. They went through irregular as I did, and they have built their own compounds, and now they are well settled, while I also tried, but I was unfortunate. Now to your questions, I have seen a lot of exposures. For us, we have been thrown to Acades by my colleagues. We were almost around 50-somethings. While we were there, I have seen a lot of things that really triggers me now to venture into this bad way. I would prefer to settle here, have my children and die here than to venture into bad way journey, to be honest. I have seen my colleagues that have urinated and drank their own urine while we were at the desert. I have seen my colleagues that fainted and died instantly in that desert because we were thrown and we were there for almost 3 days. We don't know where to go. We were gathered sitting at one place. Our colleagues, some of them start dying out of hunger. Some of them start to get confused out of this situation. So it was a life witness that I have seen. I have also seen along the way where in the Nar, okay, that was one of this boy that was able to rescue one girl, a lady. I think for me, my advice goes to the ladies. There was this lady among our troops. The Nar were trying to sexually abuse her.
When you say the Nar, what do you mean?
These were the Sulas, you call them Sulas here.
Okay.
So I think they were trying to abuse the girl, but one of my boys intervened. But because there, once you identify yourself as the husband to a lady, you can easily save a lady. The girl was asked, okay, why are you on this journey? And she narrated. So immediately my boy intervened and said, she's my wife, in order to rescue the girl. Because the girl mentioned to the boy that, please, if you do not rescue me here, these people might overuse me, because you'll see 3 men equals to 1 female. It was so terrible.
When you say overuse, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, what they will usually do, they will bring the girls out in front of all of us, undress her naked, and we'll be sitting physically, seeing they'll be having a very rough intercourse with the girls, which we are not comfortable with, but we have to comply because these are people with weapons. We have no power over them, but we have to comply. So my boy just intervened and says, she is my wife. So what happened is, now they asked him, she's your wife? He said, yes. Can you kiss her? So my boy was trying to feel some aspect of that, but the girl says, do that, or else they will kill all of us here. So that was the moment he also intervened and kissed the girl. They were sucking, then they were called out to go and do the physical intercourse in the presence of all of us, to prove that, yes, the girl is a wife to him. So this journey was so terrible, more especially for the females. To be honest, this is something that I could not bear. I was crying like a baby, seeing a female, a well-respected mothers of us, are really being marginalized are being used by most of the people that we call them as good people in our country here, but their life is far different when you meet them around that areas. Here we can be cool with them, but go and meet them in that desert. That's the time you will know who they are. And this is how they have been treating us. We were just lucky being rescued by the UN that met us there the 4th day. So we were being boarded in the vehicle, I have to call in the helicopters, and we end up being departures to Gambia here. So that's how it was in the desert by then.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Talking of the females, I think it was going to be very important for us to have a female panelist here, but since we don't have it, we just have to proceed. We've interacted with one of the ladies who was in Libya. When she came back, one of the shocking realities of the society that she left to appease or to satisfy the society is the same society that is crucifying this young lady, because the society believes that the young lady is no more clean. Wherever people come to seek a hand in marriage, the same society will tell them, and it's the same society that pushes you. So talking about the UN, I'll come to Mr. Cisse. He talked about the UN trying to rescue them, and many a time we receive troubling information from these immigrants, Gambian undocumented immigrants, be it in Turkey, be it in Libya, be it in Tunisia, be it in Morocco, and then most of the time they will reach out to Foreign Affairs, but sometimes there is delay until the public will say, no, we need to help them. We understand that these irregular or immigrants that go, the government did not send them. What are some of the challenges that the ministry is facing when it comes to repatriating Gambian immigrants in this?
Thank you very much, Mustafa. Before I come to that, I want to qualify the point that I made earlier, that we are all aware about the risk of irregular migration. And then Tombong came in to say he wasn't aware of the risk.
Yeah, that was.
I want to qualify my point. Maybe I should have said today we are all aware, but perhaps 10 years ago, maybe most people are not aware about the dangers of irregular migration.
Just put it down a little bit.
Help me. Perhaps 10 years, as Tomo rightly said, most people are not aware about the risk of regular migration. But today, I can safely say that mostly all Gambians know the risk associated with irregular migration. Today, someone will tell you, Baza wala Barsak. That means they know the risk associated with it.
So,
yeah. So, coming to your question, the government of the Gambia is doing a lot. As we all know that the welfare of Gambians, wherever they are, is a major foreign policy of the foreign ministry. The ministry is structured in a way that it attends to the needs of Gambians wherever they are in the world. That's why we have 8 directorates in the ministry. You have one for Asia, you have one for Europe, you have one for Africa, you have one for Middle East, and across all the continents. And where I work in the Directorate of Diaspora is the directorate that cuts across all the continents, especially when it comes to migration. So once Gambians are stranded, either in transit or destination countries, the ministry has been so responsive. There have been a lot of Gambians that have been successfully repatriated. That was solely done by the government of the Gambia, and in other cases in partnership with international organizations, such as the International Organization for Migration. So the challenges there is budgetary constraints. As we all know that we cannot continue to depend on IOM forever.
right.
That is what we call donor fatigue. And also there will come a time that IOM will leave us with our problem. So we better need to be frank about our discussions around migration. So the major challenge for us is funding. For example, when a migrants get stranded in Mauritania, facilitating their repatriation can cost government minimum $150,000. So it is not sustainable for government. It is not sustainable for the partners. So this is one of our major challenges. Another challenge is as we are aware, there are shifts in migration laws in most of the countries.
Right.
countries are really making laws to curb irregular migration. So it is perhaps 10 years ago, like let me quote the ambassador of the Gambian ambassador in Mauritania. When we were there on a consular mission, he once told us that someone can be in Mauritania for 10 years, no one will ask you about documents.
Right.
Where are you from?
Yeah,
So today the shift in migration laws, even entry is becoming much more difficult, as well as people that are already residing in Mauritania, now renewing their residential permits is even becoming a problem because of this shift in migration laws. So these are some of the challenges we are facing when it comes to repatriation of Gambian migrants. And most of the times, when they are detained, it's usually very difficult for our diplomatic representations to access them. So you would need a consular mission, you would need the ministry to embark on a consular mission to go and have access and offer them consular services, which is also has a funding implication. So migration is really challenging, and these are some of the challenges that I can.
So just to wind down for the last question before we all go down, it's about the realities. You work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and you've heard what these young people say. Mr. Fatih has said that because of he has a friend who influences him, that when you come here within 3 months, 3 years, you are able to build a story building. I just want you to share the realities of Europe and America right now, especially for the undocumented immigrants.
Yes, before I go into the realities, since this session is on exposing the risks of irregular migration, I would want us to reflect on the points that were raised by my colleagues on the high table, especially the previous speaker from the Youth Against Irregular Migration. He has raised, very pertinent risks or challenges that are faced by migrants either in the desert or in the high seas. So in addition to that, there are also risks associated with getting kidnapped or being locked up in detention centers or being abused sexually or other forms of human rights violation. So in addition to this, coming into your question, the realities on the ground once they reach the shores of Europe. So before, as we are talking about irregular migrations, let me first talk about people who enter legally into Europe. People can attain a visa and enter into Europe. Even those people, the realities that they normally found in the ground is usually different from their expectations.
Exactly.
Most people believe once you have a visa, you enter Europe and that's it. No, visa is just something that allows you to travel. So these people, once they get into Europe, they can be returned. Even people who enter legally, they can be returned,
Right.
on the basis whether they have their length of stay, their length of visa expired, or they have committed an offense that may nullify their return. So these people can also get returned. But since this forum is on the issue of irregular migration, generally, most irregular migrants enter the source of Europe without the requisite qualification to enter. That means they don't have a visa to enter. In fact, what we know is most of them will discard their documents on the way.
Mhm.
They will throw away their passports. So once they enter into Europe, they are not regular. So they are taken to asylum camps, where they apply for asylum.
Mhm.
So once they apply for asylum, there is what we call the 1951 Geneva Convention. The convention states that a refugee is identified as someone unable or unwilling to return to their country of origin, owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reason of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. So there is usually this saying that the government has signed
Exactly.
an agreement for our Gambian migrants to be deported. Well, the thing is, Gambia, under the regime of former President Yahya Jammeh, was considered to be a dictatorship.
Exactly.
So you will understand that even for non-Gambians, it was lucrative for them to claim to be Gambians because it was easier for them to have their asylum granted.
I agree.
So which is obviously not the case now. Gambia is considered to be a democracy. You have to give a very convincing reason to be granted asylum. So now Gambia then, under what they call a dictatorship, is quite different from now. Because asylum application was considered lucrative.
Exactly.
Now it is no longer. So this is why we have most of our Gambians not granted asylum, and for that reason, they are usually returned. So that what they said is signing. Gambia is a signatory to the Geneva Convention. So under international and customary law, we have an obligation to accept our citizens wherever it has been established that they are Gambians. You cannot refuse to accept them. They are your citizens. Once their citizenship has been confirmed, you are obligated to receive them.
And I had wanted to come in, even whereas it has been inundated in the media that the government actually goes and signs, but the government of the Gambia does deport people. People are here from the Gambia Immigration Department, and because of problem of logistics, sometimes they will just go to the...
To learn how to do whatever installations and all that, because even going to Europe, if I reach and learn skills, because I know myself that I have lack of skills put me to live in Gambia. So when I came back, what I did first is I went and learned skills. I learned cooking, I'm a barkeeper, I'm a waiter, and all this. I know, okay, doing all these things down there in the village, I couldn't tell anybody with these skills. I said, okay, I already learned whatever installation. What can I add onto this? I was working in a hotel. One man is doing painting, then I followed him. I did only one shift. So the other shift I'm following him to train skills, because I have a target in the prison that in the next 5 years I want to establish the first bank skill academy in this country. So I need a lot of skills. I followed him, then I'm qualified in painting and one-parent installation, one-parent installation. So doing all that, I said, okay, as a young entrepreneur, I have to be innovative. Every 2 years, I have to innovate new things in my business, because I'm training students. They are going to be my competitors. What can I do to make sure I train a lot of things going on? Innovate new things. When I did painting, the cars and the bottle, this thing, the pot of the paint, I told them, I said, okay, this thing can be something new. Then I started to research, what can I do with these things and all this. That's where all this recycling thing came around. And currently we are fully a recycling scheme academy. We done tires, bottles and all this. Even this bottle, sometimes I go to Congress and I'm going to do it here. Please, this bottle, don't throw it. We make sure we transform them, we recycle them, we tell you what's with it. So we tell you what's with recycling. Currently we tell over 200 years who are qualified with the skills, and backward economists are part of it. So I came back, I said, okay, lack of skills, 300 to go. So when I came back, these are the things I'm doing currently. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Oba. I think you did well when you came back. So, Tombong, just the last one. I recall you came back, and then I just wanted you to share, just probably 2 minutes. When you return, how was it easy or difficult for you to reintegrate into the society that actually put pressure on you to go? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so very much, Mustafa. I believe the discussion is interesting, and then lot have been said here, and then whatever have been said here are the realities, believe it or not, are the realities. So just like what Abba has said, let's reflect on our realities and understand if it worthy to say yes, we have to risk our life to embark on this journey. Mustafa, it was never easy coming back home, considering that my fellow colleague speaks about it, because Youth Against Irregular Migration was formed in prison in Libya, where most of us met as Gambians, brothers and sisters. That's where this whole idea comes about. Because what happened is, like I said, we were not privileged, or I was not privileged to understand some of these risks involved in this irregular migration. So moving forward, Mustafa, what happened is, when we were imprisonment in Libya, that's where we come up with this idea of how we can form ourselves, and so when we get back home, what can we take along to say this is what we have achieved? Because for me, I believe we have achieved a lot. To society, to community, to people, we are failures. We are someone that are not, someone that we cannot be celebrated in our community or in our society. Because imagine coming home, getting down to your society, people try to stigmatize you. People try to point finger at you. You are a failure, you are this and that. So only that can give you a trauma that you can live to that way. And also coming from Libya, in that prison, Mustafa, what happened is we don't have telephones, we don't have anything, but what we use is toothpaste. That's what we use to write each other's name, telephone numbers and everything. And so when we are back here, the communication can still work on to to ensure we still work on that dream that we want to work on, which is to advocate, to ensure people understand the risks, dangers in this irregular migration. So coming back here, there was no reception for us at Banjul International Airport. Imagine someone having or serving 4 months in prison. Some of our friends' colleagues died in the prison where, the condition and the situation of the prison were so terrible, so unbearable. Some of us as victims knows how AK-47s are operated, how they are fired, and how they are fixed and everything. Imagine those people need more security, more proper welcoming or reception to ensure, to examine how these people are brought home here. But this is the sad reality. There were no reception for us. This is why Youth Against Irregular Migration, since 2017, we formed the organization to ensure we get down to communities, especially the vulnerable communities in this country. Because consider that most of I am from Basi, like I said, I was not privileged to understand. Now, imagine when government want to at least said they want to focus on social media to ensure people understand the risks and dangers of irregular migration. A layman in Base or Bansam or CRR is not privileged to understand or to even read that information that is sent by Ministry of Information or Minister of Information or whatsoever. So I believe people need to understand. This is why Youth Against Irregular Migration is bridging that gap to ensure each and everyone, not like communities, society, international, private sector, civil society organizations, everyone is affected with this irregular migration. Believe it or not, Europe is not a promised land for young people. Let's believe in ourselves. Like, skills is something which is very important. I can testify. I went back to school and acquire skills. I can do computer repairment, I can do printing repairment. My colleagues and friends also do similar things. Some are doing electrical engineering, some are plumbers, some are doing amazing works, and they are having a decent work. And along with this advocacy that we are doing, so Youth Against Irregular Migration and Mustafa to seize this opportunity to say we'll be having our second edition come April this year, where we'll be launching our national migration policy, and also we'll be having our second edition of national migration camp. And to tell you, Mustafa, we are now operating in several regions. We have our chapters in every region, from region 1 to 6. We have our chapters there, and in these chapters, we're doing a lot of work with them, in terms of how they can.
Thank you. I wish time would have allowed us to go in. But thank you so much. This is the reality check. And then we've had the key takeaways is migration laws have actually changed. The realities that we thought exist are just mirrors. And then some of us who are left this country because of social media, those expectations are not actually there. Young people need to have skills. You've heard what Buba actually said. You don't leave this country and say Doku Tijang or Lige Amutfi. You are not school and then you don't have skills. It becomes difficult for you to be employed. And then don't forget, please kindly forget about the societal pressure, just like what Tombong said. If your parents force you to leave this country, if your wife or brothers force you to leave this country, just understand one thing, and that's the ugly truth, unfiltered truth, the truth that you may not want to understand. Anytime you die trying to please these people, the moment you are buried, even before you are buried, people will continue to have their breakfast, people will have their lunch, people will have their dinner, and night people will make babies to replace you. So whether you take this bad way and die, life continues with or without you. So it does not worth the risk of you killing yourself because you want to take your parents to Mecca or Rome. You've heard them what they say. The society, what the society say, even in our masjid, when they say people, everybody will allow masali. But let us pray for the people here. So society has a role to play. So be that as it may, I thank you so much, and then we will wrap it up here and then say thank you so much to the panelists, Minister.
world, despite the hills and the slopes, just to get to Rome. Some tailored a journey to Spain, hoping the water could quench their pain. As their hopes were strained, their struggles went in vain, as the sea swallows them with no gain, sucking every blood that runs through their vein. A deadly journey, yet everyone wants to follow the chain. They sang songs of struggle, gathered on a boat and buckled, faces frowned, no cuckold, bodies entangled, all dreams placed on a battle, full of hitches and obstacles. The new journey to Europe has robbed the youthful population of my country and left their families in grief. They knew it was dead or alive, yet they risked it. The system failed them and they went to fix it. Some couldn't make it and it left a small nation crippled. Dega li nahari. Na suma gesto, du may gis dara sudut suñ ndawi yeb jaar nañ si yooni gannaaw. Yoon bu daw yaram, yoon bu amalut kenn yërmande. Yoon bu wona bakken yu bari mu jox leen dee bu daw yaram. Ndox bi fata seen bakken yi mu fata seen nokk yi mu fata seen dena yi waay ñii ñu ne duñ bàyyi fokk ñu bégloo yaay yi balaa ñoo taa yi bari. Na man sakunda fangola ba dayring kuol be ba sumiyaring fenne man tara diaring. But enough is enough parce que lu ñàkk si ndaw dafa bari. We have lost our brothers, fathers, and even future husbands. Kon jot na pour ñu waxalante dëgga wanalante dëgga saxalante dëgga ndax dëgga mooy taxaw. Thank you very much. Where the politicians fat in their pockets while the streets stay slim with broken promises, where the price of rice rises higher than our voices, where justice walks slow but corruption runs fast, where a protest is met with batons but silence is met with starvation. We dare here. Where the boys drown deep in the ozone's chest, chasing a dream that the land suppressed, where girls barter their innocence for visas, where passports are tickets to anywhere but here, where patriotism is a burden and home is a question we ask with trembling lips. They say it's somebody, but we are tired of waiting. They say ndimbal dina ñëw, but help is fading. They say pray, trust and hold on tight, but how can we wait when we have lost our light? We dare here. Where they sell us dreams with a broken spine, where we wait for change but it skips the line, where the mosque and church calls the faithful but even God must wonder if we still hear him. Where elders tell us to be patient, but will patience pay rent, fix these broken roads and bring back what the government has stolen? We dare here. Where we watch our friends torn into voice notes from Libya, then to missed calls, then to memories we cannot explain to their parents. Where the ozones become a grave with our name, we learn the cost of currencies no bank recognizes. We dare here. Where youth empowerment is a slogan, not a solution. Where we are told to start businesses, but they tax us before we breathe. Where they say education is key, but the keyhole is rusted and the door won't open forever. We dare here. Where every election, the anthem changes. This year would be different, they say. But faces swap seats, hands remain the same, pockets grow deeper, and we just count the years. We dare here. Still writing, still fighting, still hoping for a Gambia where we don't have to leave to live. We dare here. And we refuse to disappear. Thank you very much.
Start with Major, who works at the Gambia Armed Forces. Sir, thank you so much for honoring this call. My question to you is, we've seen the role of the Gambia National Army or Gambia Armed Forces, especially the Gambian Navy, in terms of combating the smuggling of migrants that normally happen using boats. And a lot of people will actually ask this question. Like, the navies are expected to protect our seas in order to make sure that probably prevent these boats from leaving. We also understand that the navy can track the boats in the sea. But I want you to help us understand, why is it difficult for the navy to actually understand when these migrants are leaving? Are their boats actually different from the boats that actually enter? Because I know most of those big fishing boats normally have is it the tracker? How do you call it, Alkali? Yeah, there is a tracker. So a lot of people will want to understand, and then sometimes people will tell them, no, it's different from those boats. These irregular immigrants or smugglers are very tactical in their way. But I wanted to understand the role of Gambian Navy and the broader sense, the Gambia Armed Forces, in order to help stop smuggling of migrants from the Gambia. So I will help you holding the microphones because they are too much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I am Major Bubature, representing the Gambia Armed Forces. Well, the moderator, you've spoken the very important areas. But first, I would like to seize this opportunity to shed a little bit light on the roles of the Gambia Armed Forces. The Gambia Armed Forces, according to our constitutional mandate, is to preserve the national sovereignty and the territorial integrity of the Gambia. So this phrase in the constitution, is always stick to. We always make sure we adhere to it. So one of the principal functions also is to answer to the calls of the civil authority in terms of disaster or emergency. So we are doing that in full-fledged. So your questions about how we tracked or not being able to track, I can assure you to that the Gambia Armed Forces is having a control over the land, those are the infantry, and then over the sea also, those are the Gambian Navy. So it is very difficult because the system, no matter how you try, others will also try to beat the system. So, but I am assuring to you that we have command and control over the sea. The Gambia, of recent, we received 2 high-speed boats that can be able to cope the illegal boats in terms of either it's going to be like migration using the sea. We are able to have those equipment. So it's very, very important to coordinate things together. It's always good we coordinate because as we are seated here, everything is about coordination. So the coordination is the backbone of our success in every development state. So the Gambia Navy or the Gambia Armed Forces, we rely heavily on information. If information are not shared, it will be too late. So that's why with the police and with the immigration, there are information hub, whereby if something is going over somewhere else, we are notified and then we'll be able to do the needful as necessary. So, but basically, illegal migration or irregular migration is a whole thing. It's not a one-man show, it's a collective effort. As somebody just diluted in the Gambia, some are digging holes, some are filling it. So it'll be very difficult. As we are seated here today, others are planning to give sponsors to their family members. So it's always difficult. To conclude this, as long as we have others here, yeah, okay, thank you. To conclude this is a collective effort. The Gambia Armed Forces will work hand in glove with all the security apparatus to ensure that illegal boats in our sea domain are able to we are able to lay our hand on them. So, but the team here is not one man show, as I said. So this needs collective effort. Well, I will stop here for for the first time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Major, and then we appreciate the work of the Gambia Armed Forces. So I will go to the Gambia Police Force. Mr. Commissioner, in December, the country woke up to the story of Ginak, placing Ginak as one of the most famous villages in the Gambia. I'm not necessarily famous for a good thing, but because of the lack or insufficient security presence in Ginak. And many people, many Gambians have that myth that, okay, these smugglers actually went to Jinak Kajata because they believe that there is little or no security presence there. That is based on the myth that has been circulating that even the police officers cannot go to Jinak. They cannot go there in uniform. But we've seen the Gambia police force traveling to Jinak to make sure that these smugglers or their materials were confiscated. I just want you to make us understand the critical role the Gambia police force played at Jinak, and was that the first time that the police entered Jinak? And this myth going around that the police cannot get to Jinak, what is the reality according to the Gambia police force? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's important for us to reflect on the past and be able to make a way forward. Like you said, there is this myth surrounding the presence of police officers in Jinak as to a very unpleasant, let's say, an adventure that could be very unpleasant. But this is not the first time that police had led operations into Jinak. Actually, from memory, this has been the second one. The first was led in the 1990s, in the late 1990s, and that was also a very successful one, as we can see in this one, the recent one that happened in early days of January. All right, so the reality is, yes, there has been that myth that a lot of people have the belief in, but in essence, it is not practically obvious that it is a fact. And the police would ensure, we continue to endeavor to ensure everyone that uses Jinak as a departure point is being taken care of, and will handle those situations. So there is no fear. The police have tested it twice and it had worked. So if the waters are tested twice and there is green light in the waters, it shows that, of course, the waters are safe for us to adventure in. But the issues of irregular migration, one may ask, what is police stake in irregular migration? Irregular migration is like any other adventure that is threatening people's lives. And when people's lives are at stake, the police have a responsibility to respond. As one of our core mandates been dictated in the 1997 Constitution is protection of life and property. So where lives are perishing, where there is a lot of loss of life, the police have a responsibility to ensure they poke their noses in it, and we will ensure we do this at all given times. Yes, there is a lot of emphasis on migration being a right. Of course, this is recognized. It is recognized that migration is a right. What we are not comfortable with is irregular migration that exposes us to so much danger than the actual positivities that come out of it. So because that has been the case, even in our in the enjoyment of our fundamental rights and liberties, where such enjoyments are subjecting people to certain dangers, or security issues being questioned, safety issues being questioned, the police would always have a responsibility to play. And we would not sit back to watch a lot of lives perish, or we will not sit back to watch thousands of youths perish in the seas, just in the name that whosoever that goes to Jinak faces some reality troubles or whatnot. I mean, I think there has been a task force that was set up in North Bank region, right, which encompasses different institutions within the interior, the Ministry of Interior, and we can all attest to the tremendous job that has been done over the weeks. So this is going to be a thing that we are not going to relent in, and you can imagine just on the immediate aftermath of those activities, the Gambia Police Force, through the leadership of the IGP, had deployed an anti-crime unit to Bara. The deployment of the anti-crime unit is also meant to ensure there is a reinforcement within that area that will be able to do robust patrols within the area and also be able to curb the illegal migration, because we've realized that North Bank is now being used as a hub. It used to be some other places, but North Bank is becoming an area, and then a lot of concentration also with regards to resources and human capacity is also being pushed into, and so we are able to do the job that we are supposed to do in being able to curb illegal migration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I'm glad the fact that you can hear it from the horse's mouth that the Gambia Police Force actually went to Jinak and then to make sure that they avert such. So we will move straight to Mr. Alkali, who works at the Gambia Immigration Department with the Migration Unit. A lot of people will leave this country, and then certain people will say immigration should actually stop them. I understand we don't have that smuggling arm is still a bill yet to just go there, and there is a lot of complaint. What is the problem? Why is it that it's becoming difficult for the immigration authorities to prosecute these smugglers that are making more money than even some of the drug laws that we have in this country? A smuggler will be caught after taking more than 5 million. He will be taken to court, and then he will be charged probably less than $20,000. And then the following day you see that smuggler walking after having 20 people who died in the sea. What is the problem with our laws, and what is the GID doing to making sure that these smugglers are actually put at their right places? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. Good afternoon once again. Good afternoon, fellow members of the High Table. The GID, as you all know, is at the forefront of border management, and irregular migration being one of the migration crimes, offenses being committed by unscrupulous people. We would never relent. As the Commissioner said, this is not something that we are doing one-off and stopping for some time. I think what GINAC has taught us is that we should never relent. People can travel, and basically that's a right. What is not your right is to travel without necessary documentation, to travel without passing the regular border checkpoint, to travel without sufficient means of support, to travel without going through the necessary checks of exit and entry into another country. And what we stand to fight is to make sure that people don't get themselves into those situations. If we don't do that, what could happen, Mustafa, is that people will be in vulnerable situations where they will turn back to the Gambia government for help, and we will not be able to reach them, as it has been demonstrated over the years or over time. Mr. Cisse has gone through and some have also mentioned that people are in prisons. Now, because the Gambia is known as a source, a transit, and a destination for irregular migration, a lot of these smugglers have chosen Gambia as an operating hub. One, we must also state that we are signatories to protocols, to UN protocols, to ECOWAS protocols, and to the AU protocols of free movement. If you have people coming into the country and they fulfill necessary entry requirements, you have to let them in, because we are bound by those protocols. What they will never tell you as a reason for traveling is that they are going to be engaged in irregular migration. And this is where the problem comes in. Once you have them in the country, they may be here for some time, working or living their lives. Once they get enough money, that's when they attempt to travel. The smugglers are also using the same advantage because of the gaps we have in the ECOWAS protocol, in the AU conventions, and so on and so forth. They take advantage of that. When they are in the country, they actually engage in regular or use legal engagements. Once they have the means, they try to travel. And here is where the problem comes in. Because the Gambia is known as a transit point, you have so many non-Gambians. And because also the Gambia is seen as a departure point, you have so many Gambians who are actually leaving our homes, paying smugglers monies ranging from 40,000, 30, 50, 60, up to 100,000 just to get themselves reach Spain or eventually Europe. Some travel by land, some travel by sea. Of late, they were using the sea route. Of recent, they are using the boats. Now, with regards to the boats, the issue is that the Gambia, after signing the Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, did not ratify or did not domesticate the smuggling of migrants into law. We did the same. We did the domestication with the Trafficking in Person, which gave us the 2007 Trafficking in Person Act, but we did not do the same with smuggling of migrants. And thus it became something that is not actually legal as per international law, but it's not a crime to do it in the Gambia. However, we have the Immigration Act, laws of the Gambia 1965, which the Immigration Act actually, 1965, says that you must not aid or abet the legal entry or exit of a person into this country. You understand?
Yeah.
And this is the only legal framework that we have. It becomes, it remains an administrative offense because all immigration offenses as it stands are all administrative offenses. Now, when you arrest somebody for doing that, the problem is that you can only charge him for administrative offenses.
Okay.
These administrative offenses attract minimal fines. As you stated, they are very minimal. It's left to the discretion of the judge. And this is where the biggest problem comes in. We have a bill that was prepared and it's at the ministry level. I think as we stand today, it has been sent to the Ministry of Justice, and after the legal opinion it will be sent back to the Ministry of Interior, after which perhaps it will be taken to cabinet and then be sent to National Assembly for debate. We hoping that after it passes all those processes, it will be passed into law, and then we can criminalize smuggling of migrants. But as we stand, it has not been criminalized. And I was to also take this opportunity to thank my colleague from the police, because we have been working on them on that regard. With regards to prosecutions, all of our prosecutions are done through the Office of the Inspector General of Police.